Hi there, Adapters and Adapters TechX. It's great to have you back. We're here at Catalyst for Conversion, powered by Revenue by Design. I'm here with Shauna Campbell, who's the Commercial Director for Students Unite. And that's a powerful organization, large organization. In case you haven't figured it out, they're in the student accommodation and lifestyle business.
Just student accommodation, but at Unite Students we operate about 170 buildings across the UK, offering a home for success to 74,000 students every year. So it is a big industry, but slightly different to hotel world, but still kind of selling the accommodation and making sure that people feel at home, basically, to get the best that they can be.
So I was in Lisbon earlier in the week, and we toured some student accommodation facilities. It really is as close to a co-working stroke hospitality experience stroke study experience stroke get to know new friends experience. So when we're here and we're talking largely about distribution and yield management, can you ground our cool listeners out there on, how do you apply that in your category?
In our category, I think it's not dissimilar from a hotel. So it's still you selling a unit, and you still have a guest at the end of the day. We just have a student. It's really important for us from a branding perspective to make sure that we segment to the right categories that we're trying to attract into our accommodation sector. And you're still trying to build the values of what your product is about in order to attract them. The other elements are very similar. So from an aspect of around pricing, forecasting, yielding, knowing your competitors, marketing, sales, all fundamentally are the same. The difference I would probably say is student accommodation is a slightly simpler model. We sell one room for 1 year or one semester, as opposed to a hotel that's selling kind of multiple times, different lengths of stays, a constant churn of transactions.
But isn't that a little bit more difficult because now you're trying to hedge forward as to what the value of that is for these longer period of times where maybe the hotel community or other accommodation communities are able to kind of deal with the short term?
I would say you're correct in that the slight difference between student accommodation and hotels is when I was a hotel revenue manager, I could change and adapt my strategy almost in a 24-hour period. So change the price, test it, check, understand. You could probably get something wrong within that week's strategy, but then have a real win the following week. And overall in the month, it kind of washes itself. In student accommodation, we have one time to set our strategy and kind of get that right. And we are selling almost a whole year in advance. So at the moment, at Unite Students, my commercial team are focused on the academic year 23-24, and we'll be planning to launch 24-25. And that comes with loads of other issues to think about around kind of costs, understanding the business that far in advance to understand, okay, well, how do we commoditize our product at this point in time, not knowing what my energy costs are going to be in 24-25, or not knowing what my payroll is going to be in 24-25.
So when we think about this in the context of the conversations here on stage that you've heard today, what are some of the best practices that you think, okay, we should apply that to our space?
I actually think it's probably the reverse. I think we have, having been in hotels and then moved to student accommodation sector, there is a lot that, particularly in pricing and revenue management, is very much in its infancy. So from just organizing the product and being able to rationalize it and present it in a kind of cohesive manner on that the student actually identifies and understands. Also about kind of selling the experience. Hotels are fantastic at selling an experience. We heard today from, the upselling and all of that sort of stuff around really targeting and using marketing to really drive that experiential. We've got to build that into student accommodation. At the moment, it's quite a bland purchase. It's a bedroom for a year. What we need to kind of start to market to them is not just the room, but what are the facilities in the building? Where is the building located? What is that kind of dream? What is their ultimate experience that they're looking for student accommodation, and then linking the two. So I think we have a little bit more to learn from the hotel sector. I think the difference that we kind of bring maybe from an accommodation sector is we understand much more the the whole business. So really understanding our capital, our investors, kind of how the business makes money, etc., which you're needing to know because you only have that one shot at kind of really driving those commercials. So you're actually needing to understand more down to the real profitability level, how does this business make money? Whereas in hotels, I think sometimes the revenue managers can sometimes focus very much on the top line and not understand how they could actually influence either some of the cost lines on the cost of acquisition, or even down to our need to be charging more to maintain profitable lines for my...
So we had Frank Reeves with Allura.ai here. We've had Jason Pinto with Pace, all machine learning, AI, all that complicated stuff, ultimately to make it easier to deliver what we were listening to Natalie about is persuasive dopamine.
Yes.
How do you deliver dopamine in the student accommodation business?
They come with loads of dopamine already. No, I think it's about... we need to really understand and put ourselves in the heart of the customer. And I think that's in any industry you're at. You need to understand what are ultimately the needs of the customer, and then what are those things that you can surprise and delight. And I think the elements around student accommodation, they're certainly very different from when I went to university, of a very bland, boring, almost cell-looking bedroom, to now, that whole experience around cooking together and kitchens and study spaces, and we have karaoke rooms and entertainment spaces. And so you are selling a lifestyle as opposed to they come to study is their primary purpose, but what we try to deliver is kind of the experience that they then have outside of that.
Well, Shauna, what a great way to wrap up. Surprise, delight, worry about cooking together and having a really great place to stay. It is great that that's evolved. So for everybody out there, it is looking over the fence. It is looking at other industries and other categories. But mixed-use development, asset managers and investors are looking at all forms of blended asset management or asset opportunities where there are. Could be a hotel next to a student accommodation block, next to a co-working, all within the same framework of the site. So it is important for us to look over the fence, keep looking over the fence. And by the way, if you're stuck, go ask a student on what's the best menu to cook tonight, nice and simply. So, Shauna, thank you very much, and we'll talk to you again soon.